Welcome back to another edition of Cape Ann Today. Each week, we are joined by Taylor Bradford of the Gloucester Daily Times to tell us all things happening locally here, and she is in the thick of it all. How are you, Taylor?
Good. It's good to see you guys.
Yeah, so let's start out right off the top now. We are in the throes of a crazy election season, and we just want your recap, if you could, of the League of Women Voters debate recently held at Sawyer Free Library.
Yeah, so all six candidates showed up to this first mayoral debate held by the League of Women Voters last week, and it was different. While there were not viewers there to kind of, or residents to come sit in and, make different comments or applaud or jeer. And it really, there was about, 10 people in the room or less, with the candidates plus people working behind the scenes. There was some lively debate between the candidates, which is exciting to see and exciting to kind of hear the topics that they were passionate about. Again, we have Safatha Romeo Taken, who is the incumbent, and she's been a huge advocate for not only the seniors and the housing, but also for the fishermen here in the city. She spoke a lot about kind of the work that they're currently doing here in the city, especially working to figure out kind of what the next steps are for the tourism and for how the city will continue their financial stability going forward. Really applauding her team in their efforts to meet the goals that she set out when she came into office. Then we have Brian Pollard, who is very well known here with his collaboration with Action Inc. He has been a huge advocate for assisting those get affordable housing, as he owns properties in the city and he also works with the finances. His big key thing was noting a lot of how they can continue that work to make housing affordable here in the city, really emphasizing how he has seen it done and how he's contributed in the past and how he wants to in the future. I also like to note too that he did make an important note too that wasn't necessarily a question at the debate, was just how are we going to focus on education here in the city. That's something that he brought up at the debate himself. Then we have Rob Russell. Rob Russell has a mantra, and it's very evident, as he said it many times during this meeting, is just shining the gems of the city. And what those gems are to him is downtown, talking about how we can really utilize our parking, trying to figure out ways to make that a possibility, to really key in on that and highlight downtown and the boulevard. Then we have Greg Verga, who is no stranger to city politics. He at the debate really emphasized needing to take a turn and really change course, kind of have a reset in city politics, alluding to some of the kind of tensions that have been happening within the city this past year, and also kind of just emphasizing how he can really take our city forward as his experience in city council and school committee. And then we have John Harvey, who, he's been a part of Annisquam dredging. He knows the waterfront really, really well. And that was a big thing, is as he was answering questions, you can tell that that's just his background, that's his knowledge. And he's really focused on revitalizing not only the harbor, but also just kind of the entirety of how that is just connected to all the different parts of the city. Lastly, we have Francisco Scilafani. He is no one new to the mayoral race, as he's run before. And his big thing was how we can take sewage and run a pipe out of the city to local deserts, and emphasizing, making different land area fertile grounds for more growth there. Also emphasizing that he would like to see a hospital with a pregnancy center and birthing unit here in the city once more, as he states that people are having to go down to Beverly or Salem to do so. And so those are kind of the discussions. Again, that's a very quick blip into what was last week, but I know that you can go on 1623 or read our article on gloucestertimes.com to see more of what that discussion looked like. I encourage you all to do so. Also, stay tuned, because next week we're going to be seeing another mayoral debate, and this one you guys can go to in person. It'll be at the Magnolia Library at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, September 8th. And they're emphasizing that people should come masked, whether you're vaccinated or unvaccinated. And There will be no questions from the public other than one question that will be coming from the Gloucester High School seniors this year, which is kind of exciting. And so all 6 candidates should be there, and there should be that discussion about kind of what the next step are, because in 2 weeks is primary election. So we will know in a very short while who are kind of going to be the ones on the final ballot this year.
Right.
Taylor, do you happen to know who is preparing the questions for next week's debate?
Magnolia Library, and their kind of board is working to do that.
Okay.
I can't recall the exact names, but the kind of team over there.
Kurt Henderson will be moderating from Magnolia
Okay.
Library.
So are they receiving input? I know some people have asked me how to get questions on the debate.
I believe that people affiliated with the library are asking people in the public to give them questions. I think they're collecting those in their own way.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
But people, when you get there to the actual debate, people will not be able to kind of do questions going forward. And I know that we're going to be having a story shortly on that, kind of looking at how going forward they'll be having those debates. And this one, again, is very different than the one that happened at the Sawyer Free Library. And eager to see different questions. I'm excited to hear the conversation not be repetitive. And I think that's the great thing about having different groups run each different debate. It's always different. So
right. Well, I learned a lot from last week's debate, and I anticipate the same thing, that there will be new questions and new responses. So it's a good tool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Gloucester Times will be there, and 1623 will be there for a live broadcast on Channel 12 and our Facebook page, 1623 Studios. Like Taylor said, Wednesday, September 8th at 7 p.m. from the Magnolia Library. Okay, great job. Moving on, I saw the demolition has begun over at the Veterans Memorial School, and the Mattos Field question is still something to be ballied about in litigation.
Yeah, so we thought the story was done as a judge kind of ruled in the city's favor after a group of Gloucester residents had filed a lawsuit about the construction of a consolidated elementary school that would combine veterans in East Gloucester. The judge really decided that the city was in the right here. They had done the right process, and that these residents didn't really have much to stand on. But we found out earlier this week that those same Gloucester residents have appealed the judge's decision. And so what that means is that, the court has a certain amount of time to respond, and then we'll see what happens. Now, this whole narrative that's happening now is kind of an interesting one, because as you mentioned, Corey, they've already started the demolition over at Veterans. And so if the residents were to win the lawsuit, the question is, where would those students go and what would the city do? And that's what we're going to be continuing to look at in our reporting, especially as that whole site is kind of already being prepared for the construction of this new school. And so as of right now, we know that the students from Veterans are over at St. Anne's as a temporary housing while that new school is being built. They started their first day on Tuesday. I talked to Matt Fusco over there, the principal, and he said that they're doing great. It's definitely a different building, and there's a lot of things they're learning about. It's multi-level flooring too, and so he talked about how he's going to be getting a workout while they're in this temporary housing, as you're going up and down stairs. But it seems like the students are really excited, and as they continue to navigate all that is this year with the pandemic, with the new school, he said overall they're doing great.
And is there a timeline for the appeal? Do we have any sense of what when we can anticipate a decision?
I don't have the exact timeline. It's usually within I think it's like a 10-day window, but I don't want to speak on that. I know that they do have a deadline, and so it's not going to be something that's just kind of out in limbo for a while. And so we'll be waiting to hear back about what the verdict is and if we're going to be going back to Newburyport, but we'll see.
Thanks. And lastly, it is a holiday weekend. Schooner Fest is upon us. Heather and I will be live for Cape Ann today in just a couple hours here at 1623. We're hoping Taylor actually pops by and says hi. So Taylor, what are your plans now for Schooner Fest? What do we have going on there?
Yeah, so I'll be on Sunday. I'll be there for the parade of sales. And a really exciting thing that I've been reporting on for quite a while now is the firing of the parrot cannon that's been working on Restored over the past couple of years. When people don't know what the parrot cannon is, it is this really wonderful cannon that's been around, but it's getting decrepit, and the city really rallied together the money and the resources and the time to help restore this cannon and bring it back to a really great condition. So cannon was a gift to the city of Gloucester in 1931, along with 2 other replica cannons from the USS Constitution, also known as America's oldest commissioned warship. And it's just, we have a few photos of David Dabb, who was a key player in this restoration, with the cannon, and it looks great. The photos look great, and I'm so excited to see it in person and hear it, because, the Schooner Fest is all about the sights of the big ships going by, but I think people are going to be very excited to be hearing some sounds that really take us back into back into history, as these ships do every single year. So that'll be exciting, and it'll be on display at State Ford Park afterwards. I did speak with a representative who's been working with the cannon, and they said that after Sunday they will be putting it back into storage, just because they're trying to figure out where to put it permanently, that where it can be protected but also seen by the public. So that's to come, and if people want to go, that will be at State Ford Park on Sunday. So stay tuned for that. As I know, as Corey said, 1623 and the Gloucester Daily Times both will be there. Very excited for what's looking like a beautiful Sunday to celebrate the schooners here in Gloucester.
Very nice.
I think I read it in your piece, Taylor, that the cannon will be shot off to start the race, right? The mayor's race.
Yeah, it'll be great. It'll be such a fun way for the community just to celebrate an annual festival that has been put on hold from last year to this year, and to see something that so many people have worked together to restore.
All right, Taylor, get yourself some breakfast, and we'll see you in a little bit down at the Harriet Webster Pier for Cape Ann Today Live.
See you guys.
This episode of Cape Ann Today is brought to you by Bank Gloucester. Start here, get there.